Hey everybody, Scoutcrafty here again. It's Friday, TGIF. Thank God you made it through another week. And boy, they go quick. And we got another couple things to talk about today. First of all, I haven't done a rant in a while, and I'm ready. I just wanted to I was watching a good friend of mine. He has a nice channel, really good channel, Idiocracy. And it's spelt, he put ones instead of the I's, so I guess he can get through the YouTube algorithms or whatnot. But it was he has a great channel, been watching him for a long time, a lot of interesting videos. I'll put a link in the description. But he was talking about a German-made plier, which I'm sure you know of, and he put out a disclaimer before he started making the video on how to pronounce the name, and we all know it. It's Knipex, okay? Now, some people say Nipex, Nipex. That's one tool company that's pronounced a dozen different ways. And the funny thing is, when I was making a video of a Knipex tool, I went to the Knipex YouTube channel because I said if anybody's going to pronounce their name right, it's the guys that have their own YouTube channel. That's the company. It's putting it out, so... And don't you know, on that their channel, on the Knipex channel, there is both pronunciations, both with the K and without the K, from their own channel, from their own company in Germany. So, I decided it was time for a rant. Yesterday when I was watching Idiocracy's video, I said, something, this has been a pet peeve of mine for a long time, and I'll tell you why. When I was a young man in high school, I worked as a magazine salesman over the phone. I was one of those callers that would call your house annoyingly and try and sell you a magazine. I did that in high school, and it was lucrative. It was a good job. It was sales, but a lot of rejection. But I had to deal with a lot of names and things like that throughout. But the funny thing is that one time my name, and I have a German name that's a little bit difficult to pronounce for some people, but it came up on one of the leads. So the Glenn Ross leads. So I took, somebody else got it and they said, "Hey, John, is this, you related to this person?" And I said, "Wow, the same name." "No, I'm not related." But I said, "Let me call him," So when I was calling him up, I said, "Hello." And I, said my name, and obviously, and the first thing the guy did was correct me, because he says I'm pronouncing the name wrong. It's funny because it was my name too. So it made me think, I said, pronunciation is one of those things that you can pronounce it. And some, here was my rant, my pet peeve with this. If you have a name that has a silent letter or is traditionally difficult to pronounce, then you have absolutely no right to beef with somebody who pronounces it wrong. And I think sometimes maybe people name their kids these weird names just to screw with people. And I said, I'm not playing the game anymore. So if you have a screwed up spelled name, I'm going to pronounce every single letter. And I started to do it with words too and stuff like that. So if you see me pronouncing, when I was talking about the Fresnel lens, I know people say, "Oh, it's pronounced Fresnel." No, it's not. It's Fresnel. If you don't want the letters in there, if you don't want them pronounced, leave them out. Okay? So that's what it is. So now if you have a name and it's got some names, we had a guy at work years ago. His name was Riddick. Okay? But he had an H in front of the name, and that's the way it's spelled, whatever the case may be. Now, when he came here, he changed his last name too, so that it made it. So why didn't he change his first name? It doesn't matter to me. So he used to get on people when they would say, how do you pronounce it? It's a H or Riddick, and he'd be like, "No, it's Riddick. Can't you see?" So I used to purposely call him Heridic and he would say, it's Riddick. I said, "No, you got an H there, buddy." I said, "It's Heridic." I said, "If you want to, drop the H and be called Riddick, fine. But until you do, it's Heridic." So I do have a pet peeve, okay? So here's another example. Okay, so when I was working, we had a union, a union leader, president was, had a name that this kid from Guyana it didn't pronounce it right, and he got all upset at this kid, and he was yelling, and I had to come to the kid's rescue. And let me show you how I did it. I had some cards like this, and I said, let's read this out loud. So we got, what's that, mean? Okay. Okay, we got, what's that, lean? Okay, you lean. Dean, another name, okay. Everything's good. Bean, okay. You eat bean. Oh, what's that? So that's Sean. So I said, you're going to berate this kid because all these things sound the same, but the one, because it's a name, I'm supposed to know that's Sean. It's not the kid's fault. So, don't rag on people because they pronounce something that isn't spelt the way it sounds. So, there we go. I have there's my little rant, my little pet peeve. So I do it for everything now, When I go to the store, I ask for a receipt. And if it's a letter there, I'm pronouncing it. If you don't want it pronounced, leave it out. That's all there is to it. Okay, with that, let's see what we got. We got a cool project to get to today. Let's check it out. Okay, for today's project, last week I did that video and I covered some of the whisk brooms, which a lot of you put in some fantastic stories. It was so nice to hear about your stories about how you remember them as a kid. A lot of fun, right? Well, Mike Bashford, a good friend of mine from the UK, said he put in a comment and he says, over here, the famous broom is Trigger's broom. I had no idea what he was referring to. So I looked at it. He put a link in there to this show that was a British sitcom from the 70s. So I watched the clip. I thought it was hilarious. I love British sitcoms, older ones. I used to love Keeping Up Appearances, And this is for my British friends. You know what I'm talking about. For the people here in the U.S., just hang on for a minute. You'll get it. So I went there and I started watching as many clips as I could and it was only Fools and Horses, but they didn't have any full episodes on there. But then I started watching Going Straight because that also starred this gentleman called Ronnie Barker. And Mike has turned me on into a whole new aspect of British sitcoms that I never knew existed, especially from the 70s. What a good time I'm having watching these old shows. They have a lot of them on YouTube. So there'll be a link in the description to Trigger's broom. You have to see this clip. It's only a couple minutes. Well worth the watch. Ronnie Barker, I'm a total fan. The guy is fantastic and I'm really enjoying watching his stuff. He just passed away a few years back, but I mean, it's just great. So, Mike, thank you so much for introducing me to that. So, in honor of that, I wanted to do a tool from the UK because I'm picking up a whole bunch of things from the UK, watching this. So, let's get right to that. Okay, for today's tool that I wanted to mess around with today was, this is a saw I had for quite a while, and it's an Eclipse number 66. You can see it here on the handle. Eclipse number 66, and you can see it says for general purpose sawing, and on the other side here it says the saw for the handyman for wood and metal cutting with adjustable handle position. And that is because this will adjust. It has 9 different positions it adjusts in, and here is the blade. Okay, you see the Eclipse here, gives you the number, made in England. And okay, so what do we want to do with this? Well, I was looking at this and I said, I want to do this today. But first of all, this is, over here we have saws like this, considered kind of keyhole saws, anything with these long blades. I never really use these much. And the blades this is a nice thick blade, but some of the keyhole saws, they tended to buckle a little bit because it's a push design. So we have tremendous amount of pitting here on the front of the blade. And I said, you know what? I want to put this in one of remember that Scoutcraft, the junior kit I wanted to make? I said, this would be a great saw for that. So, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to, cut the blade down. And I don't want it as long of a blade because who uses that tip of this blade anyway? You're never using a saw to cut through something super thick that you need this tip, and that usually gives you your problem always, right? So I'm going to try and cut it down to a nice design here in the front. Try and get this blade down. You can see what it says here. This will probably lose because we're going to have to grind it off. But I will get another blade for this one. There are NOS ones available, but they're like $30. So I'm waiting for the price to come down. I'll get an NOS blade. But I'm going to have some fun with this one. Cut it down. I can always use the front end of that blade for something else. And then we'll see what we can do. If we could polish this up, maybe put some color in here because it's in good shape. You know, that's why I bought it. And let's see what we can do. We'll have some fun with this. Okay, we were able to get out some of the pits and everything, and also we shortened the blade, put a nice radius on there. Don't that look nice? That thin wafer wheel really makes a quick job of cutting through this hardened steel. So now what we want to do is we're going to use this to get out some of the scratch marks and, you know, try and dress up the blade. It's hard. These blades are hard to get nice, but you have a backer board, which I'm using here, and then we're going to feed it in like this here and try and get out and even it out. And also, you also have to make sure it stays cool. You don't want to change the temper of this. And then we'll also hit the handle with a little bit of the wheel after. Now, one thing I forgot about these Eclipse tools is that they are painted from the factory. They're actually painted a gray, and then they do cover up some of the dings and dents. Maybe that's why they do paint them instead of leaving them a bare aluminum. But we got most of the paint off. Got to fix some of these dents. Now we have to go to the belt sander. Now you know my favorite part. Remember what this Eclipse 66 looked like before we started. And we're calling this project done. This was a lot of fun, wasn't it? And you can see here, this is the tip of the blade that we cut off over there, and you could see the shape that it was in. Like I said, it was just even here I couldn't get all the pits out. It's just almost impossible with these type of blades, but it did come out respectable. Put that nice curve on the front here. It is fairly sharp. You see we put some red in here. Now originally I was thinking of putting red in here, but then I was thinking about, you know, when your hand is on here, you're going to be touching that paint. It's going to chip off, especially around the letters. So always put the paint in the recessed areas where you can't get to it, won't chip out, and it'll look like that 50 years from now, you know. And that's again, it's a brush paint that I did it with. I even did inside the handle here, which I think it really looks classy, looks nice. Now let me show you how this positioning works on the blade. What's so nice about this, when you just give this a quick spin here of that nut, and you can pull this off like that. You see, the blade comes off easily. You don't have to unscrew the whole. In fact, you can unscrew the whole nut. It has a swedge on the back. But you can see the different positions that you can have. And let me show you from the front here. This would be a straight on position. This would be a typical saw position that you would use. And now, I don't know, this position or this position, I think is kind of useless, don't you? I mean, I think that even though it's 9 position, I think probably this position here is probably your most used position to make it like a regular handsaw. This be great for a toolbox or something like that. It has a real nice feel to it. Of course, the lettering, you know, I left all this polished aluminum, you know. Everything looks nice like here, and look at that. It's a beautiful saw. And I know in England they have these in real nice shape, you know. No excuse not to have one overseas. Let's see how she cuts. Okay, it's nice and tight on here. We'll just see how this cuts. And feels good. Has a nice draw to it. Good size. Perfect for a small toolbox. And perfect to make that certain cut if you had to make it. There we go. Nice cut. It's a, you know, nice saw. It's good size. I like it. I'm glad we did the cut. There we have our Eclipse number 66 multi-purpose saw. What do you think of this project? So in closing, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great weekend. Take care now. Bye-bye. I'm going straight. I'm straight